Are you in the market for a mobility scooter but don't know where to start? If you stay tuned to this video, we're going to go over some key things to think about to help narrow down the right item for you. Hey, I'm Alex with Marc's Mobility. In this video, we're going to go over some of the key points to consider when trying to select the first mobility scooter for your needs. So one of the first things that you want to consider when you are trying to select your mobility scooter is what is going to be the user's height and weight. Obviously, height and weight are going to make a difference just based on fitting on the scooter. There's going to be different scooters that are going to have different weight capacities. So one, that's going to be the first thing that's going to narrow down some items in this industry based on the user's weight. While we also go over the height, because there is going to be a difference between certain leg room and floorboard space on the scooters. For example, a three-wheel scooter is going to have a little bit more leg room than a four-wheel scooter because you can typically kick your feet out on either side of the main drive wheel in front. Now, where a four-wheel scooter is going to be a little bit more stable, but you are going to lose a little bit of leg room, as you can kind of see in some of these four-wheel scooters here, where you kind of have this hump that goes up. Yes, you can put your feet on there, but a three-wheel scooter is going to have a little bit better turning radius and is also going to give you a little bit better leg room. Now, while there are three and four-wheel scooters, a four-wheel scooter is typically going to be a little bit more stable than a three-wheel scooter just because you're going to have four wheels on the ground at all times. Now, four-wheel scooters are typically going to have a larger turning radius than a three-wheel scooter, but there are some new products on the market, such as the Elite Traveler 2 Platinum here by Pride Mobility, which is going to have easy turn technology, which is going to get you a turning radius of a three-wheel scooter and still have the stability of a four-wheel scooter. Now, I don't want to scare you when I talk about three-wheel scooters and saying a four-wheel is going to be more stable. Three-wheel scooters are still going to be a very stable unit as long as you're driving this in normal driving conditions. What I mean by that is as long as you're not taking this off-road where you're going to have large potholes or crazy kind of inclines or declines, then a three-wheel scooter is still going to be very safe for the end user. You have to also imagine that there's major manufacturers that have been out on the market for 30 plus years with three-wheel scooters, and they would not be in business if there was going to be a lot of risk of tipping over with a three-wheel scooter. But once again, a four-wheel, yes, would be slightly more stable than a three-wheel. Now, the next thing to consider when you're buying your first mobility scooter is going to be the terrain that you're driving this in. So the terrain/environment. And what I mean by that is, hey, are you trying to go fully off-road, kind of into the woods? Are you trying to then take this inside your home? Are you trying to travel with this? Do you need it to break down? How are you transporting the item if that's a possibility? So the reason why that's a major factor is a lot of times there's not one particular scooter that's going to fit all different types of terrains, such as tiny, small spaces inside your home to off-road, outdoor, all-terrain type capabilities. So do remember that and keep that in mind. There's not one perfect scooter that can do everything. And just imagine like a car. If you were to buy a car with really good gas mileage, well, you're going to give up probably being able to pull heavy weight behind the vehicle. So it's kind of the same with the mobility scooter. They're getting better in this industry, but there is not going to be a one-size-fits-all based on all the different types of terrains. So if you were to say, yes, I need something for inside the house, but I still need to get out a little bit, maybe the Elite Traveler 2 Platinum by Pride Mobility would be a good option because, once again, it has that easy turn technology. If you said, no, I need something primarily outside, you're going to want something a little bit larger tires, such as maybe the LX Sport, a little bit more powerful motor, or maybe even like the Wrangler 2, which is the true all-terrain type scooter on the market. Now, I do want to emphasize as well, this video is going to be a guide if you're looking to just try to narrow down what's going to fit best for your needs. But if you do give us a call, we do have mobility specialists that are going to go through these similar questions with you to really help identify the best product for your needs. The next thing we're going to go over is, are you flying with these scooters or trying to take them on a cruise ship? Reason being is non-handicap rooms on cruise ships only have about a 22-inch door opening, so you do want to look at the overall width of a scooter if you are trying to take it on a cruise ship. With flying and cruise ships alike, a lot of these scooters are now coming out with lithium batteries. Now, most of these are going to have dual options of a travel or a full-size lithium battery, but that is something you need to be aware of because there are going to be limitations when flying or on cruise ships. You do need to be under 300 watt hours. So if you give us a call, we can explain to you what that means and what the watt hours is on the batteries. But lithium batteries do have a limitation of what can be on a cruise ship or a plane. Now, if it's a sealed lead acid battery, it does not matter what the size of the battery is. This only pertains particularly to the lithium batteries, which is kind of the new thing on the market that more and more scooters are coming out with. The next thing to consider when buying your first mobility scooter is what type of drive distance are you needing to get. Now, these are not going to replace your car, but there are going to be some full-size scooters and full-size lithium scooters that can get up to a 40-mile drive range. Where if you really think about some of the travel when they have the lithium, airline approved, or these smaller portable scooters, maybe you get this 8 to 10-mile drive range. But once again, there are going to be some lithium scooters that you can buy an additional battery pack and swap out the travel to the full-size battery pack to get more range. But I do want to mention that just because if you are trying to get one that is going to fly, once again, just consider that those are going to have a little bit smaller drive range than some of these full-size lithium or full-size scooters that can get up to approximately 40-mile drive range. The next thing to consider when purchasing your first mobility scooter is transportation of the item. So if you're telling us, hey, you need something to go to the grocery store and you don't want to be driving it to the grocery store, then you're going to need to think of a couple different things. You're either going to need to look at a portable scooter, once again, like the Elite Traveler 2 Platinum, which comes apart in a few pieces. The heaviest piece is somewhere in that 35 to 40 pound weight range, or a folding type scooter, such as the Super Portable. Now, the Super Portable is going to be somewhere in that mid 40 pound weight range. It folds all up in itself, but they do make some lighter carbon fiber folding units that might be more in that 35 pound weight range. So I mentioned this to you because you do have to be able to lift at least somewhere around 35 pounds for most of these units, whether it's a folding or whether it's a portable unit. If you do go with something a little bit bigger, such as the LX Sport or some of the other scooters on the market, you are able to get ramps for the back of your vehicle, or we do sell new and used Harmar electric vehicle lifts, which are going to be compatible with a lot of vehicles out there on the market. And do remember, we also sell covers for the items as well, because these items are going to be water resistant, but that is not waterproof. So once again, a little bit of mist, yes, should be okay, but you really want to keep your item dry. But once again, if you are going to go with a Harmar lift behind your vehicle, definitely consider a cover because you do not want to leave it out in the elements because once again, these items are not waterproof. Now, the next thing to consider when purchasing your first mobility scooter is going to be overall quality of the device. The reason why I say that is because there are going to be some major brands out there that have been out for a long time, such as Pride Mobility, Golden Technologies. I mean, you're going to have a handful of brands that are going to be a higher quality, where we get a lot of individuals that might have bought something off of Amazon that call us and need a part, need to get it fixed, and there is no support on some of these off-brand scooters. So once you get one of those cheaper items off of Amazon, do know once that thing fails on you, you're not going to be able to get replacement parts. You're going to have to purchase another scooter. Unlike the Prides, the Goldens, the other major brands on the market that are going to be typically a higher quality and have plenty of service and parts here in the United States. Now, to recap this list of things to consider, I'm going to go over with 3 good starter options in different categories for somebody that is trying to explore their first mobility scooter. First thing I would look at is going to be right here is going to be the Elite Traveler 2. This is going to be a portable scooter that does come apart in a few pieces. That's going to be somewhere in that 35 to 40 pound weight range, the heaviest piece when it does break down. It's also going to have that easy turn technology, and then it's also going to have silver acid batteries, so you are able to travel with this, and there is not going to be any limitations on the size of the battery in this unit, and it is going to be at a good price point as well. The next item that we're going to look at over here to my side is going to be a Super Portable by Pride Mobility. This is going to be a folding scooter, which is going to be airline approved as well with a lithium battery. So lithium batteries do charge a little bit faster and they are going to be a little bit lighter. So this unit's going to be somewhere in that mid 40 pound weight range. And it does fold up and is going to fit in the back of many vehicles. So if you are going to be traveling and you are going to be taking these Ubers and Lyfts and other types of transportation, this unit is going to be able to fold up and fit in the back of almost any vehicle that would pick you up. And lastly, over here is going to be more this full-size scooter, the LX Sport. This is probably the most true and tested scooter on the market. This has been out for probably a decade. Now, this is a full-size scooter, about 8 miles an hour. It's going to get you a decent range of somewhere at 15 to 20 mile drive range, but it is going to be something you can take in the grass. You can also navigate on the roads, but if you want something that's going to be a little bit more bang for your buck with great suspension, headlights, and a high back seat, then the LX Sport would be an awesome option to consider. So to recap this video, I want to mention that you can go down below in the description. We'll have links to these 3 products, and we'll also have our number there below. So if you would give us a call, we can go over these similar questions to help narrow down to find the best mobility device for your needs.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And my name is Alex. We're co-owners of Marc's Mobility.
I started this company in 1995.
We sell many products, not just what you see in this video. If you have any questions or concerns, please call us at the number below at 800-677-6293. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.